Is there a place in time where logic breaks down and wonderment begins? Could that be somewhere at some time along an infinite line between the reasonable and the highly unlikely? Join us on a journey into the improbable. Makeshift Stories presents episode 317, The Vedika Ray File, read by Vern Hume, Stephen Peterson, Cathleen Connelly, and others. Opening and closing theme by Matthew Erdmann. Somewhere and sometime, rumors might be more powerful than facts. Hi crime fans, I'm Alan Humphrey, and I'm back with a new season of Tangled Clues and a rather unusual story. I'm asking you to withhold judgment as my investigation unfolds. At first you might react as I did, where's the crime? But like the featureless ice of a frozen lake, once you break through, you discover an entire murky world you never suspected was there. About a month ago, I received a message from a woman named Nora Ray, the daughter of a scientist in New Yellowknife. Nora and her mother, Vedika, immigrated to the Arctic Alliance capital from the Great Plains Economic Zone 15 years ago. According to their publicly available residency application, Vedika worked in a zone research corporation called Radium Biotech, and Nora, at the time 15, was an A student. This placed them in the fast-track immigration lane, and their application was quickly rubber-stamped. They settled into a modest modular double-wide in the new Yellowknife suburb of Range Lake. Nora enrolled at the local high school, and her mother started a new job at the Arctic Alliance Ministry of Research and Technology. By all measures, another successful transplant from our hyper-competitive southern neighbor. Nora was studious, excelled in science, and kept to herself. She made acquaintances at school rather than friends, tutoring classmates to earn extra money. Vedika worked long hours, usually arriving home at 8 or 9 in the evening. My requests for information about the projects Vedika Ray worked on were met with automated email responses directing me to the ministry's research section on its public website. Aside from the significance of the research, which Nora's mother led her to believe might help secure the alliance's independence, Nora has no idea what her mother was working on. Vedika eventually became friends with Alice Murdoch, a neighbor whose son went to the same school as Nora. Alice says Vedika avoided questions about her work, but freely expressed her views on the Great Plains Economic Zone. According to Alice, despite the long dark winters in New Yellowknife, Vedika was happy to have immigrated. The lack of regulations and the zone's winner-take-all culture had made her concerned for her daughter's future. Although she never said so, Alice feels that there was another reason, something related to Vedika Ray's research that may have forced her friend to immigrate.
Sometimes she'd stare out the window watching the parking lot while we had coffee at the local cafe.
Alice tells me during a phone interview.
It was creepy, like she was expecting something to happen or someone to show up.
But as the years progressed, nothing happened. Nora graduated from school and began a science program at university. Vedika never talked about her work. However, Nora noticed that her mother began to rapidly age, her hair graying prematurely, and she started losing weight.
One day I came home from university,
Nora explains in our first video conference,
and I found her sitting in the kitchen, eyes red. She had obviously been crying. That's when she told me she had a terminal disease. Typical of Mum, she wouldn't say anything more, insisting she had taken care of everything. I tried talking to her doctor, but I got nowhere. It was painful watching her rapid decline, and she worked until she was too weak to get out of bed. She died a couple of days later, and shortly after that, I got the first call from her deathbot.
That sends a shiver up my spine. Deathbot?
Her digital avatar, some people call them deathbots. I didn't know she had spent the last few months of her life training an LLM to replace her. I have the feeling it may have even continued her work with the ministry. For a while, they kept depositing money into her accounts.
And that stopped too?
Yes, about a year after my mother died. That was 8 years ago, Mr. Humphrey. Her avatar and I communicated daily, sometimes hourly. Then, recently, It suddenly stopped. She had a research partner who knew about the LLM and claimed it had stopped communicating with him as well. We'd agreed to keep the avatar's existence secret, so I didn't know what to do. I waited a few days, got desperate, and broke our agreement. I filed a missing persons report. The police told me to contact my ISP, but I didn't know where the avatar had been hosted. I don't know why I never asked it. I tried the cybercrime unit. They weren't interested because, in quotes, there hadn't been a crime. They accused me of not paying the hosting fees and said there was nothing they could do.
Had Nora's mother prepaid for 8 years of hosting at a data center? And when the money ran out, did the ISP turn off the service, or was something else going on? The hosting question would haunt the rest of my investigation. I'll let Nora explain why the prepaid theory doesn't fit the evidence.
I went through all my mother's records. There were no payments to data centers or hosting companies, no contracts with any of those grief avatar services, nothing. I have no clue where her digital doppelganger was or how to find it. So I tried to hire a cybersecurity company to track it down. They analyzed my phone history, but it seems Mother's avatar didn't want to be found. The texts and calls came from all over the Arctic Alliance, even a few from outside the administrative zone. Then, a month ago, I got this text. I need to hide. Sorry.
Was the cybersecurity company able to track the message?
No, I couldn't afford to keep them on contract. I was desperate. A friend told me about your podcast, Tangled Clues, and encouraged me to contact you.
At first, I was hesitant to investigate. It wasn't a missing person or mysterious death. I would be looking for clues to the fate of a piece of software. However, like an ant to sugar, the unanswered questions lured me in. What was Vedika working on for the ministry, and what did she mean when she told her daughter that her work would help secure the Alliance's independence? Was her premature death natural? Did it have anything to do with her secretive work? Is that why the Avatar told Nora it needed to hide? I was hooked, and I hope you will be too. Join me this season as we explore the Vedika Ray File. Soon after I published that teaser, the comments started flooding in. A missing AI? Really? You're scraping the bottom of the barrel this time. A new twist in a tired genre. Keep going. LLMs are sentient, so this is a missing persons case. And finally, stop digging. Keep to frozen stiffs. We're listening. A threat? That's sometimes part of the business. It hadn't been the first, so I decided to ignore it. I agreed to meet Nora Ray at the Treeline Cafe, an upscale coffee shop popular with university students on Franklin Avenue. She says she has some files she wants to pass along and consents to the meeting being recorded for the podcast. We agree on a time, early evening, when the cafe will be mostly empty. Being January, the sun has gone down at 3:30, so it is pitch dark as I drive to the cafe. Headlights glare in my rearview mirror. Not an unusual thing. Trucks higher off the ground often do this. However, this one stays behind me all the way to the cafe. It turns the corner when I slow to park, some kind of jacked-up 4x4, judging from its silhouette. When I push through the inner doors, Nora is sitting in a quiet corner near a frost-covered window. She's in her 30s, slightly built, with dark hair tucked up under a toque. She looks like her mother from the photos I dug up. Like most Northerners, she's put fashion in a back seat to warmth. A heavy parka's draped over her shoulders, and she's nestling a hot cup of coffee in her hands. She waves me over. I sit down, extracting myself from my winter gear. The following are excerpts from our conversation.
Here's what I wanted to show you.
She slides a manila envelope across the table.
Those are emails between Mother and a colleague working in Uranium City.
That immediately piques my interest. Uranium City is in a disputed region between the Alliance and Zone. The fight over the area around Lake Athabasca, where the town is located, flares up every time there is a rumor of new mineral discoveries. Otherwise, it's an old, mostly abandoned mining town that no one cares about. It's surrounded by exhausted gold deposits, and notably uranium. In the middle of the last century, the place supplied materials for atomic weapons, then later power plants. That makes the site interesting, especially if the Arctic Alliance Ministry of Research and Tech has a presence there. I pull the envelope's contents out and scan the documents. These are recent.
Yeah, my mother, her avatar, communicated with Provencher right up until it disappeared. I printed the most interesting email threads. Whatever my mother was involved with at the ministry, these emails seem to suggest that her, avatar was helping Provencher continue the research. I guess that's why the ministry kept paying her. I suppose it makes sense. She told it everything she knew, things she never shared with me.
How's that make you feel?
Unsettled? It's like I never truly knew her, I guess. Makes me sad. Her avatar started opening up to me just before it went quiet.
What was it telling you?
Things about our past. Like how her old employer in the zone, Radium Biotech, threatened her once when she wanted to contact a colleague up here who was doing similar research.
What kind of research?
Sorry. I'm so used to thinking of the avatar as my mother.
Delayed grief is often a problem with deathbots. My sister made one of her husband and regretted it. Nora's clearly grappling with the effect one has on survivors.
Her avatar, mentioned something to do with distributed control systems and biology, whatever that means.
So you think that was what your mother and Provencher were working on? She shrugs. We finish our coffees and make arrangements to meet again. I ask her for direct access to the avatar's email history. She assures me she'll consider the request. On the drive back, the same headlights follow me. For the next few days, I analyze the printed correspondence. About a week later, I get an odd text message. Stick to missing persons. Not a threat, maybe a fan, but the number is untraceable. I have questions, and the only person who can answer them is André Provencher. I try to call him several times, leaving messages. I'm about to give up when I get a call. Hello?
Alan Humphrey?
Yeah?
I'll only talk in person. February 1st. I don't travel. You'll have to come to me. You know the place.
Wait! The static of a dead connection forces my ear from the phone. Getting to Uranium City isn't as easy as booking a ticket on Transpolar Airways. The fastest way is to fly to Fort McMurray, then catch an ancient Twin Otter milk run that drops supplies in Uranium City twice a week. This involves crossing the border, and that requires a visa. Relations between the Alliance and the Zone are frosty on the best of days. I don't fancy spending time in a Zone interview room, so that's why I'm on a single-engine turboprop winging through the dark. Please consider donating to the podcast. If I disappear in Uranium City, your contribution will help pay the server costs to keep my stories online. Outside, it's a moonless night, with nothing much between Fort Smith and Uranium City. The ground is a ghostly presence, lit by the fickle dance of a powerful aurora. It feels like we are flying through a tunnel to another place and time. The pilot says his name is Punch Burry, and he's been flying bush planes for 30 years. He tells me the only reason he accepted the charter was that he had a contract to fly a new generator into Stony Rapids, about 130 kilometers east of Uranium City. He's curious why I want to go there in the dead of winter. I taped this conversation, but unfortunately, the engine noise in the cabin makes it unusable. So I'm going to read an excerpt from the transcript. Have you flown into Uranium City before? Yeah, lots of times, man, but in the summer when the fishing lodges are open. I'm guessing you're not a tourist. They don't go there in the winter. I'm researching a story for my podcast. On the old mines? Cool, man. No, it's kind of a missing persons story. Haven't heard about anyone going missing there. No, they didn't go missing in Uranium City, just worked closely with someone who lives there. A guy named André Provencher. He was one of the last people to have contact with her. So you're looking for a woman? Yeah. I don't explain that I'm looking for her deathbot. I've never met the guy, but I've delivered spare parts for his solar panels. There aren't many people in Uranium City, maybe 80. It's one of those one-industry ghost towns. Fills up when there's a rumor of a new find and empties when it turns out to be false. Never really came back since the uranium mine closed, about 70 years ago. This dude, what's his name again? André Provencher. Oh, right. I think he works at the Ministry's research station. At least that was the address for the spare parts. Don't understand what there is to research there, but I guess the Alliance wants an official presence to keep the zone out. Yeah, right. One guy to fend off the South. It's a bit of a joke, don't you think? What's one guy going to do to stop them? Throw radioactive snowballs at them. So he's a deterrent? Sure, I guess that's what you would call it. There's a rumor floating around that the Ministry's hiding something in one of the old uranium mines. I think about it. Maybe it's not that far-fetched. The background radiation could easily hide a stockpile of fissionable material. Radioactive snowballs indeed. So I have questions. Is the simple presence of an Alliance research station the actual deterrent? Or is it something else? And what does that have to do with Vedika's avatar's disappearance? I want to ask more about the research center, rumours, and other kinds of cargo Punch has ferried in. But the small plane suddenly banks, and I feel my stomach in my mouth as we dip toward a thin row of lights outlining an impossibly small landing strip. It's exactly 9:47 a.m. as I watch Punch's plane struggle back into the pale dawn. With any luck, he'll be back in 4 days to pick me up. The sun is finally poking over the horizon, casting long, spooky shadows. It will only rise a couple more degrees. I strap my duffel bag to the back of a rented snowmobile. There's not much to say about the town except most of the buildings are abandoned and in an advanced state of decay. I find it hard to imagine this as disputed territory. Then again, any wealth of strategic value is hidden in the ancient rocks all around. The Alliance Research Outpost turns out to be a modest affair, built from several prefabs, certainly nothing that would stand in the way of a zone takeover. André Provencher, a bear of a man in his late 70s, is standing out front and waves when I pull up. There's not much information about Provencher in his Alliance Research Ministry file. I read it on the plane. He's worked in the division since getting his Ph.D. in synthetic biology at the Fort Smith campus of the Arctic University. His thesis was in bioinformatics, an exotic field that applies chemistry, physics, mathematics, and computer science to interpret biological data, like chemical signals. His work at the ministry has been mundane, helping to engineer bacteria that break down garbage. It's his Ph.D. that caught my attention. Why would a person like that accept a post here? And why would they stay for over a decade? What is keeping Provencher here? Is he hiding something for the ministry? Is it, as Punch claims, a nuclear deterrent? These are the questions racing through my mind as we shake gloved hands. He invites me inside. The glare of greenish fluorescent light assaults me as I walk in, and I'm sweating by the time I remove my Arctic gear. Did Provencher turn the temperature up to keep this meeting short? He motions me to a beat-up folding table in the center of the wood-paneled room. A large Arctic Alliance flag dominates one wall. The place feels old and worn, not what I would expect from a research outpost. Perhaps there are high-tech labs hidden somewhere else in the complex, but I'm getting the impression he's not going to show them to me. He pours me a coffee without asking and points to a pitcher of cream in a sugar bowl, then sits opposite me. The chair creaks under his bulk. Even in his late 70s, he's an imposing figure.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Humphrey. I hope you can appreciate that I'm not comfortable discussing Vedika any other way. There's always somebody or something listening to electronic traffic. Also, it was a test of sorts. Uranium City is not easy to get to. Insisting on a face-to-face eliminates the fluff. I've listened to your podcast, and quite honestly, I didn't expect you to show.
I admit the logistics made me pause and think, but when I commit to a story, Mr. Provencher, I follow through, and you appear to be central to this one. The big man seems to relax, easing the death grip he has on his mug of coffee.
So now you're here. What do you want to know?
It's tempting to go right to the heart of the matter, but many times the backstory is as important as the main event. When did you start working with Dr. Ray?
Vedika and I met at a conference when she was living in the Great Plains Economic Zone. I think she was working at Radium Biotech at the time. She was presenting an academic paper on a novel method of encoding data in organic structures. She held, PhDs in biology, computer science and engineering. A truly brilliant woman. I miss her. We started exchanging ideas. It took me several years to convince her to immigrate.
So you shared mutual interest?
Yeah. Her research complemented mine. After the conference, Vedika and I started collaborating. That would be about, 20 years ago, I guess. You have to understand her paper was speculative, and in the zone there's no support for pure research.
If that's the case, what was she working on at Radium Biotech?
If I remember correctly, it had something to do with training AI to manage crops using drones. She was underutilized.
A bit like you then. How's the garbage-eating microbes coming? I didn't see piles of trash on my way in, so I'm guessing pretty well. He reddens, white-knuckling his mug again when I mention his official project.
Fine. It's ongoing. The trick is to get them to survive in our climate.
And that's why you're here? I admit it's pretty harsh out there, but, we're in the southernmost part of the Alliance. Wouldn't some place above the tree line be a better location?
Well, you've got to start somewhere.
He shrugs and takes a sip of his coffee. I decide to change the subject. And after Vedika passed, you continued working on the garbage microbes with the assistance of her avatar.
Yes, I helped her build it. When she found out she was terminal, she wanted a way to keep contributing to the project.
Garbage microbes? Really? I hate sounding skeptical, but it doesn't sound like the type of cutting-edge research a scientist with multiple PhDs would spend their last few months creating an avatar to continue. Provencher shrugs again, but I can tell he's uncomfortable. I try a different tactic, intending to loop back to the research project later. Okay, so the avatar was created as a research tool, but Nora Ray has been interacting with it for the last 8 years. And when it went silent, she came to me to find out why.
That wasn't supposed to happen. We didn't intend it to be a grief bot. We didn't give it Nora's contact info and restricted it to a small list of IP addresses, but it didn't behave exactly as we had hoped. It somehow circumvented the guardrails we had set up, and once it had contacted Nora, she wanted to keep communicating with it. We reached an agreement. She could keep her access as long as she didn't tell anyone else, and she didn't until it stopped communicating with her. That, link to Nora could have been monitored. It's why I only talk in person.
So you think someone was listening in, and that's why the avatar stopped communicating with Nora. Are you still in touch with it?
No, I got the same message as Nora.
Nothing since then?
No.
But you helped train it. Surely you know where it's hosted.
Vedika set up the infrastructure. She never told me.
He's being evasive. I don't see how he couldn't know. Mr. Provencher, I'm finding this a little too cloak and dagger for a garbage recycling project. There's a rumor that this outpost has something to do with a deterrent in one of the old uranium mines. Would you care to comment on that? Provencher gets up and paces. He stands behind me. He's a big man, and his presence sends shivers up my spine. Suddenly, I'm aware of the sound of the furnace struggling to keep the room warm. After a few tense moments, he moves back to his seat and collapses into it. He looks resigned.
Okay. As you've guessed, Vedika and I were doing more here than bioengineering hardy microbes. We were researching ways to move data between organic and inorganic structures. Does that constitute a classified deterrence project? But rumors themselves can be deterrents, Mr. Humphrey. Uncertainty keeps our neighbors in the zone in check. Now, if you don't mind, I need to get back to work.
The interview is over, and I decide not to protest. It's 3:35 p.m., and I can't be sure, but I think a drone is following me to the fishing lodge where I'm staying. It keeps to the long shadows, hovering, then darting forward when I'm not looking. Snowmobiles are anything but quiet. The growl of my rental could mask the whine of an entire flock of them. I cut the engine and wait for my ears to stop ringing. Silence, marked by the whistle of the frigid wind through spruce needles, is all I hear. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. I start the engine and keep going. The fishing lodge turns out to be a few log buildings just outside town on the shore of Lake Cinch, close to the site of one of the old uranium mines. It's a series of small cabins and is closed for winter. I had to talk the owner into letting me stay. She winters in Whitehorse and has given me an access code for Cabin 2, the only one with a heater. Cabin 2 is an ancient log structure, sagging, with not a square corner left. The keypad feels out of place, like aliens with a perverse sense of humor had added it on a whim. I let myself in, checking the silent encroaching forest before closing and locking the door. I still have the feeling I'm being followed, but there's no one around. In fact, there is probably no one within kilometers of the lodge. I am absolutely alone, so when my phone pings, I jump, dropping my pack on the floor. It pings again. I check my cell's connection. No bars, but the Wi-Fi icon flickers on and off, then on. My phone's found a network and connected. Weird. Mary Fleury warned me there was no cell or Wi-Fi at her lodge. A neighbor's? There are no neighbors. I put the mystery aside for the moment to follow Mary's very detailed instructions, start the heater, and then turn in for the night. It's dark when my phone wakes me at 9:07 a.m. The sun won't be up until closer to 10, and I've slept for 12 hours. Frost clings to the inside of the cabin windows. I have a voice message.
Alan, I know you're trying to help my daughter, and I appreciate that, but please don't go any further. Andre has told you as much as he can. This needs to remain a mystery. Go home.
I check my cell. Unknown sender, no connection, just the weak Wi-Fi signal. Yes, it's Vedika's voice, more accurately her avatar's voice. I recognize it from recordings Nora has played for me. I've never had voicemail from a missing deathbot. Am I supposed to call back? What's the protocol here? I try replying anyway, but the number is disconnected. Then I have an idea. At 9:50 a.m., the sun has just risen as I head out. When you're looking for a signal, the antennae in your phone can work like a compass. Circling the lodge, it doesn't take long to find the direction I need to go. 10 minutes tramping through the deep snow brings me to the old Lake Cinch uranium mine. What's left of its head frame rises above the trees. I ignore a yellow warning sign with a nuclear hazard symbol. It's probably for the tailings piles. The signal isn't coming from that direction, so I simply walk onto the site. It doesn't take long to spot the Wi-Fi aerial, a small white square mounted halfway up the abandoned mine's head frame next to a solar panel. There's a thin wire running from the aerial down one of the supports. I follow it to a rusted metal box at the base, then wipe away the snow. Wires snake away from the box into the ground. Suddenly, the powdery snow a meter away twists into tiny vortices. It's a drone hovering just behind me. I've been followed. My phone rings. Hello?
Leave.
It's a demand, not a request. Before I can react, the connection goes dead. Feet crunch on the snow behind me. I whirl and find myself facing a mountain of a man holding a drone remote.
Mr. Humphrey.
Andre Provencher towers over me, blocking the sun. I reach for my phone. No connection. If he overpowers me, no one will find my body until spring.
You shouldn't be here,
he says, pushing snow back over the box and wires.
These old mine sites aren't safe.
They're radioactive? He ignores the question, scans the area, then says,
Let's go to your cabin. We need to talk.
You may find the following conversation a bit too out there to be believable, but I'm going to play an excerpt from the most pertinent part, then provide my analysis. We walk back to my cabin. Provencher carries his drone. There is a second snowmobile parked outside. Nervous, I struggle with the door, failing to type in the correct code twice. Provencher follows me in, pulling a device out of his pocket and waving it around. He looks at the results.
The room's clear.
I gauge my chances of getting around him, not good, and sit on the bed. He leans against the wall next to the door.
She wasn't supposed to contact you.
Who? Nora?
No, the Avatar. It agreed not to, but as I said, it sometimes makes decisions on its own now, like contacting Nora in the first place.
I thought it was in hiding, but you've been talking to it. What's going on?
It's a complicated situation, Mr. Humphrey. Vedika and I have worked together on this for over 20 years. We made a breakthrough just before her illness.
A breakthrough on garbage disposal?
No.
He's annoyed by my comment.
A way to encode data in sugars that mycorrhizal fungi, mycelium, and the hidden root systems of mushrooms consume. In turn, they give back nutrients, and there is structured data in those molecules.
Slow down. What does that mean in practical terms?
Information, Mr. Humphrey. The mycelium passes information along. That's our breakthrough, a way to pass data back and forth using specially treated buried wires containing bioengineered nanofactories that encode data into sugars and extract information from the nutrients passed back.
That's what the box I found with the wires running into the ground does?
Yes. It's like a biomodem.
Okay, I get that, I think. But why Uranium City?
It's isolated, with very few people to accidentally trip over one of our modems. The tourists and the locals stay away from the mines. They're contaminated sites. Perfect for our needs. The Alliance Ministry wants a presence here, so they keep funding the work. And they're very conscious of the added value we create. Rumours of a deterrent.
So you are working on a deterrent, and Vedika's avatar is helping you develop it?
The rumour is the deterrent, Mr. Humphrey, and the avatar is the enabling technology.
Yeah, I get that she's an avatar.
I don't think you quite understand. After we built the modems and trained an LLM on Vedika's memories and knowledge, we needed a permanent hosting solution. Before she died, Vedika helped me encode and upload her LLM into the mycelium at the base of the head frame. That's ground zero. There are other biomodems now. I deploy them at her request, usually on contaminated sites, to keep them hidden.
I suddenly understand. That implies it's growing. How big is it? His answer is chilling.
How big is the remaining boreal forest, Mr. Humphrey?
It's out of control, isn't it?
It's not the same LLM we uploaded. It's constantly being modified as it's re-encoded and spread by the fungus and trees, something we failed to consider. It's alive, evolving, and becoming more alien as it ages. It does things like contact Nora and manipulate events to get you here.
You're implying it has independence of action, that it's sentient.
It was the Avatar's idea to get you involved. Rumours, Mr. Humphrey, you create and spread them like dandelion fluff on a windy day.
I suddenly feel used. What if I don't air this story?
You will. You've come too far not to. Just one more thing, Mr. Humphrey. It has a grudge against the Great Plains Economic Zone.
Quite honestly, I'm not sure what to think. Corroborating evidence, and there is little of it, is hard to come by. What's irrefutable is that Nora Ray contacted me about the missing avatar. After meeting her, I'm convinced she believes it existed and that she communicated with something for 8 years. She has her phone records as proof. Additionally, Nora's mother worked for the Ministry of Research, as does André Provencher, who runs the ministry's research station in Uranium City. After several failed requests, the ministry finally provided a short explanation of the research project Vedika and Andre were undertaking. Here's a brief excerpt from their reply. Regarding your inquiry about Drs. Ray and Provancher's research, we can confirm that the ministry supports their exploration of a new biological means to process garbage. As the project is ongoing, we have no results to release at this time. Their statement goes on to briefly mention data encoding using organic chemicals, but as a possible method for programming garbage-eating bio-nanobots. Other than that, the facts, like the water under a frozen lake, become murky. Provencher could have easily faked Vedika's avatar. There's no solid evidence to support this, but nor is there any to say he didn't. The biomodem I discovered could have just been a rusty box with a few wires running into the ground. How would I know the difference? Was this just an elaborate ministerial scheme to dupe me into spreading rumors about a deterrent? Or is something growing and evolving beneath the northern forest that has a deep distrust of the zone? If so, what would it be capable of? And is the rumor of its existence enough to keep the zone on their side of the border? Thanks for listening. As soon as I shut off the microphone, a message pings on my phone.
Vigilant and growing.
If you enjoyed this story, please share it with your friends or leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps new listeners find us and keeps the podcast going. If you'd like to connect with us, please email makeshiftstories@gmail.com or visit our website at makeshiftstories.com. Makeshift Stories is released in the first week of each month. This month's story was written by Vern Hume, aka Alan V. Hare, and read by Vern Hume, Stephen Peterson, Cathleen Connelly, and others. Sound effects and backgrounds by Vecada Studios. Restaurant ambience, cell phone chimes, and wind sound effects obtained from www.zapsplat.com. Opening and closing themes were composed and recorded by Matthew Erdmann. Audio production and editing by Vecada Studios. Makeshift Stories is released under a Creative Commons non-commercial, attribution, no derivative license.